Hey, Footclan, are you looking to join a better league, up your fantasy game? Well, I want you to head over to jointhefoot.com. This is your way that you can help support the show, get all kinds of perks, including an extra podcast every single week, a bunch of premium tools to use during the season, and you get access to the exclusive Foot Clan leagues where you get to meet and hang out and post with other people listening to the show who are all about having a good time playing fantasy football. So if you want to check that out and support the show, go to jointhefoot.com.
Hi, this is Eric Dickerson, NFL Hall of Famer, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Mock.
Yeah.
Friday, August 3rd.
Whoa. Did you say August 3rd?
Yes, sir.
Well, then happy birthday, Tom Brady. 41 years young.
41 today?
Yes.
So,
Spring chicken.
did you actually know? Do you have Tom Brady's date of birth memorized? Okay.
No, come on.
On his date book?
I was gonna say, man, this is creepy, creeping me out over here.
Here's a question for you: is there anything you can get Tom Brady for his birthday? Is there anything that anybody can get Tom Brady? Does he have everything that anybody could ever get or want?
I know what he needs. He needs a chia pet. He needs an Abraham Lincoln chia pet.
That's the only thing.
I guarantee
he would like that a lot.
Guarantee the plant man does not have one of those.
Yeah, no, I think that would mean a lot to him, Mike.
I'm Amazoning it to him right now because I have his address.
We have a great show for you today. We have a mock draft, half-point PPR mock draft live on the show, bringing you all of our thoughts and strategy
And dreams.
live. And we're
Hopes.
going head to head, so you'll get a chance to vote on which team you like the most. We'll catch you up on the latest fantasy football news and information. We got a good quick question. Everybody's excited. The Hall of Fame game. You guys watch it?
I did.
Did you guys hold your eyes open and watch it?
I saw some of it, and
I've got a couple takeaways.
I really have one takeaway.
Sure.
And it was exciting to watch Robert Griffin play
Yes,
football.
it
again.
really was.
When I saw him out there, I went, holy crap. Number one, I totally forgot he was on the Ravens. Number two, I mean, he was such a sensation for the league.
Rookie of the year.
And the injuries and everything that happened was really unfortunate. So it was just great to see him back out there slinging it. And Brashad Perryman causing interceptions right away.
He's doing what he does.
Whenever you are the starting wideout for the Hall of Fame game, you're on the roster bubble. That's Brashad Perryman's situation. Yeah, it was strange seeing Robert Griffin III on the Ravens without the dreads hanging out of the back of the helmet.
I loved him, man.
Thankfully, he did not get hurt. And he played well, actually. Lamar Jackson's getting some heat for that performance last night. I think there was some good, some bad. You saw the kind of agility in the pocket. It's going to take some time. The actual takeaway for me was Hayden Hurst specifically because they lined him up frequently outside. Yeah. He showed some good hands. It wasn't like an impressive stat line, but you're not looking – we've said this before. In the preseason – it's the eye test more than the stat line, right? If you're out there, you're new to fantasy football, and you want to know what you can take away from the preseason, I think you need to learn, especially at the tight end position, you get to see evidence of a player's athleticism. Julius Thomas years ago, preseason evidence showed us that he was going to be Peyton Manning's number one guy. I think Hayden Hurst showed well to me last night.
I will say this, then. If you're going to give the eye test, make sure you watch in entirety because, like I said, I saw very little of the game. What I saw of Hayden Hurst was him lined up, I think he was in the slot, super easy pass, and just dropped it.
Yeah.
So that was my eye test. So if you are doing that, make sure you take in more than one play before you're making all of your judgments.
Which is difficult when you have a Hall of Fame game and you have all those backups.
It is so hard to watch the Hall of Fame game in its entirety. It is very difficult because that is some bad football. Obviously, a lot of the news centered around the flags on the
let's talk about that
rule.
briefly.
Here's the deal. I mean, my take on that is 100% that we've seen this every time they institute a new rule that everyone's worried about. Preseason, especially like the first week of the preseason, you're going to get flags to send a message saying, look how much we're going to call this. And then when the regular season rolls around, it's like the rule exists, be careful, but they're not calling it like that.
There's a lot of paranoia out there right now, especially based on that end zone call where the receiver basically led-ish with their head, but
the safety?
Yeah, the safety hit it, hit the receiver with his shoulder in the middle of the stomach.
It turns out his head was actually in front of his shoulders in this situation. It was above it.
Well, that's the key. You got as a defender, you got to figure out how to get your head.
You got to remove your head.
You just don't have.
If you
want
to be able to tackle, you gotta dip your head way back.
Turtle, you got to go turtle.
There you go.
Pull it in.
The turtle shirt.
Turtle shirt. But no, I'm more on Jason's side. I don't think it's going to be as big of a problem during the season. But you are going to have the head scratching calls because when you have humans wearing the zebra stripes, you're going to have errors, and you're not going to really go back and review those. So you're going to have some plays that you're going to be like, oh my gosh.
And in the defense, I believe, of the referees and the league, they have to make the game safer. And it's going to be a very painful process of getting it there.
I believe they just hit $500 million in settlement payments regarding concussions since that news item kind of took off. So
it's going to be rough, and there's going to be people upset saying this isn't football.
A lot of people complained about getting those hard tackles out, and they're like, this isn't football. We're used to it, and the game's sped up and is awesome.
And if you want football to, in my opinion, if you want football to survive long into our aged years, when I'm on ARP, I want football around, and these are things that are going to have to happen to keep the game alive.
All right, let's talk fantasy news.
News and notes from around the league.
If you want to go beyond the podcast to the latest news and information, not only about this show, but about everything going on in the NFL that affect your fantasy team, follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. You can subscribe to this show, not only on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, but you can also subscribe and watch it on YouTube. And if you subscribe and you click the little bell, you'll get notified if we do a surprise live stream, a Q&A. Jason is glaring into the camera with
just giving the YouTube some love.
Peacocking over there?
Yeah, he was grinning. So news and notes. Hey, the Patriots, they signed Eric Decker, formerly of the Titans, to a 1-year contract. Well,
we shall see.
He's got a chance. You brought up a good point, I think, on yesterday's show, Andy, when it was, Marcus Mariota had a very
You mean when I predicted this exactly right the day before?
Well, the news was that he was there, so it was an amazing prediction.
If you had called Eric Decker signing to the Patriots before we had heard Eric Decker is visiting the Patriots,
that would have been
then
something.
I would be, holy crap, Andy is Nostradamus.
I did say they will sign him.
Sure. That's a low risk opportunity.
Okay,
huge
so
reward.
Here's
clearly,
the credit I was trying to give you was that you brought up the fact that Marcus Mariota had a bad year last year. Their passing volume was way down, and so were the problems with Decker all Decker's fault, or perhaps we just didn't, didn't see him utilized the right way, and maybe he's still got it. To be fair to you, Andy, you're usually the one that I think predicts the end of careers. You often see when the wheels fall off. And how do you feel about Decker?
I have no fantasy interest in Eric Decker whatsoever. I talked to Jake Seeley yesterday on another podcast. I would still, if I'm in a league, I would still sign Kenny Britt over Eric Decker today. There's no part of me that's interested in trying to start Eric Decker for 2 of 4 weeks without Julian Edelman. So in regards to practical help for the Patriots, sure, I think it helps the Patriots. In regards to fantasy, you can do a, what did I say before, a 3-sided coin and decide between Philip Dorsett, Kenny Britt, and Eric Decker on who not to want. I mean, it's just not practical. They're not going to ask Eric Decker to be the old Eric Decker either when he comes in and fills the depth chart.
Well, and Eric Decker, he's a touchdown monster. This is what Eric Decker does. However, he has some competition at that because this is the first time the monster is competing with a larger monster on his team in Gronkowski. So we'll see. I'm with you.
You're the monster till you're not the monster.
Exactly. He was a monster in a small pond.
Yes.
If you're in a dynasty league and Decker's on the waiver wire, of course, scoop him up, see what happens. But when it comes to redraft, I, at least at this point, have no interest in Eric Decker.
Yeah, Quincy Enunwa, we heard about an injury to him yesterday. He's going to be sidelined 1 to 2 weeks with a thumb injury.
Phew.
Yeah, that's better than what it could have been.
Than a back or a
He's
neck
gonna
injury.
Missed some camp, though, trying to come back from the neck injury last year. Brandon Marshall, toe, ankle, hamstring. He's been cleared to participate in team drills at Seahawks camp. Percentage chance that Brandon Marshall has relevance this year, Mike?
I'm going to go 35%.
Oh, that's pretty high.
I think that's a really solid percent because I think it's like 50% that he makes the team.
Yeah.
And then if he makes a team, 60% of being somewhat relevant.
What's between 50 and 60?
Oh!
You guys have a higher expectation of him than I do. I guess the Doug Baldwin news is pretty big.
That weighs into my decision.
On making the team.
Yes.
So, look, before we move on to our head-to-head live mock draft right here on the show, I want to tell you about a new sponsor, and that is Eero. Okay? The single router Wi-Fi model from Eero. They sent one of these out, and look, I've already used this product. Brooks has used this product. His girlfriend works from home, has a very unreliable Wi-Fi situation.
Used to.
Yeah, does not anymore. I got the report from Brooks that it fixed all of their problems. All of her video calls, they're no longer dropped. Whatever your Wi-Fi needs are, Eero has the power to seamlessly blanket your home in Wi-Fi. That's what we want in the modern age.
It's a mesh system, and you have to have mesh in today's age.
Yeah, so set it on a flat surface, plug it in with the power adapter for increased speed and range with powerful tri-band radios, and with the addition of a third 5 gigahertz radio. The second generation Eero is now tri-band and twice as fast as the previous one. This is a great router mesh system, and look, you need it. You need it in every home. You don't want that corner where you can't watch the ballers.
No
right?
dead zones.
When you're in your bedroom and you can't watch the footballers, not good. For free overnight shipping in the U.S. and Canada, visit Eero.com. That's EERO.com. Select overnight shipping and then enter footballers at checkout. That's Eero.com. Offer code footballers at checkout.
And hey, Foot Clan, listen up. I know a lot of people listening, they already have the Ultimate Draft Kit. And if you have it, you know what's in it, and you love it. But for anybody that doesn't know, we've got a lot of new listeners. It's the month of August. The Ultimate Draft Kit is, first of all, it's the tool that the three of us pour ourselves into. We spend the entire year working on this product, but it's also one of the most proven tools to help facilitate fantasy championships year after year. The rankings from last year ranked in the top 5. So, look, you're going to get all our rankings, all our blurbs. You want to see us break down and talk about all of the best players. You can watch little quick, minute, 2 minute, 3 minute video profiles on all these top guys. There's draft cheat sheets and all sorts of things that you are going to love in it. It's only $29.99. It is the best value in fantasy. So we highly recommend go to ultimatedraftkit.com. Get it today. You're going to want to read the stuff in there before your draft, and you will very much enjoy it. Bring home that hashtag FootClan title at ultimatedraftkit.com.
And I think when we talk about the Ultimate Draft Kit, I'm going to start bringing up some of these FAQ questions that we get sent in. Here's the most recent one. How often are the tiers updated in the Ultimate Draft Kit?
The tiers are updated every single time we make a tweak to any player, which is every single day. So there will never be a situation where I go in or Mike or Andy goes into our rankings, adjusts a player, and the tiers do not reflect it. So you can always be confident in our tier-based drafting. Which?
The Fantasy Footballers Mock Draft.
So rude.
Well, he screamed witch, so I was looking around.
Yeah,
I was like, is there a witch somewhere?
Burn there, it's a steak. No,
She turned me into a newt.
No, I'm just saying I've got the ultimate draft kit pulled up for this mock draft.
I was going to say, we are about to enter a half-point mock draft. Jason, now I did a random draft spot selector, and Jason ended up with the 4th spot.
I like it.
Mike is drafting from the 6th spot.
I'll take it.
And lucky me, I got the 12 overall. I'm at the turn. So this will be kind of fun. I mean, an opportunity. This is why you mock draft. And we mock draft using the Sleeper app. We've been doing it all off season. Every one of our mock draft shows is using the Sleeper app. It's great. You can pause it when you need to. You can undo errors like all of your picks, Jason.
Thank you for letting me undo them.
A lot of updates every single week with the Sleeper app. And so we are going to jump right in right here, right now. Todd Gurley goes off the board at number 1. Lev Bell at number 2. David Johnson, number 3. And Jason, you're sitting there at number 4. And I'm actually curious who you're going to go with here at the 4th overall pick in a half-point league. By the way, standard roster construction here. Quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, flex position, and then 5 bench spots.
There you go. This pick for me at the 4th spot is only between 2 players. That's it. It's Ezekiel Elliott or Antonio Brown. I've said you got to saddle a stud, and a stud is a stud running back or Antonio Brown. I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott. If you've got one of those top 4 picks, to not get one of those huge advantage running backs is just, I think that's a mistake.
So you've got Zeke. And then Saquon Barkley ends up going at 105 directly after Jason's pick, which puts Mike into an interesting position. Because I actually don't know where the rubber meets the road for you and Alvin Kamara. I have no illusions of Alvin Kamara getting to me at 112. So I can openly discuss his name and ask you, Mike, is he even in consideration for you?
Yes, he is in consideration. The 3 guys I'm looking at, Antonio, Alvin Kamara, and Melvin Gordon. And sitting right here at the 6th spot, and the fact that we have 3 teams going, I am strongly considering going with a closer to a 0 running back approach, just as it's an experiment here.
Yes,
it's a mock draft
for the Foot Clan to go, but I want them to know my thought process. If I was actually here at the 6th and Kamara, Gordon, and Antonio Brown were there, I would most likely end up taking Alvin Kamara. But for the show, I'm going with Antonio Brown, and we'll see what happens by the end if I can get the running backs to fill out my team.
All right. By the way, you can get a more visual look at this mock draft by going to YouTube and watching it on there. We'll have the video of the draft board interspersed with our mock draft. But Jason took Zeke. Mike got Antonio Brown at 106. DeAndre Hopkins went next. Melvin Gordon at 108. And then Alvin Kamara at 109. Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt. And here I am on the clock, and I've got to make a pair of picks. One of the more overt things that stands out to me is, look, Odell Beckham Jr. is sitting there.
And Julio, you could stack them.
At the 112, I could also go wide receiver. However, it will be a long and torturous wait for a running back. And I will take Odell Beckham Jr. And now I'm looking at the running back position with options like Dalvin Cook, Devonta Freeman, Jordan Howard, Jerick McKinnon. I'm looking at stability for my roster in this half-point league right now. And there is the upside of Jerick McKinnon. I've talked about him as one of the guys outside of the top 10 that I think could finish at number 1 if things go perfectly right in that system. But I want to illustrate for our listeners, when you are drafting, and I know you've got the draft sheet printed out, but you are playing against not just, the draft sheet. You're playing against your league mates. I'm playing against these 2 gentlemen as well as all the other players in this league. And
I'm playing to lose.
And I need to weigh my roster construction, right? You draft a guy. I took Odell Beckham Jr. Well, I want stability at my running back position, not risk with my first pick because I chose to go with a wide receiver. So I'm actually going to go with a guy I know is going to give volume.
Oh,
and I'm going to take Jordan Howard over Jerick McKinnon, over Dalvin Cook. I like the guaranteed workload of Jordan Howard because I'm waiting a while for another running back, another opportunity. So I took Jordan Howard. Devonta Freeman went next, Keenan Allen, Dalvin Cook, Julio and A.J. Green going at 205 and 206. Are they just the best values in fantasy football right now, those 2 players?
Yeah, quite possibly. The fact that you could start a roster with Melvin Gordon and Julio Jones is absolutely preposterous. This is people swinging the pendulum too far, in my opinion, to the running back position. So I'm on the clock. I'm in the middle of the second round. The wide receiver, if I was going to go that way,
I know your pick now.
It's easily Michael Thomas because he is a tier 2 guy according to our rankings, according to my rankings. But I've been doing it all offseason. Can't stop, won't stop. Middle of the second round.
Of course.
Rob Gronkowski is on my team.
All right. Yeah, you've been saying any second round, that's basically where you're grabbing him.
Jason did not get Michael Thomas to drop to him because he went right after Gronkowski, and now you're on the clock.
That would have been really nice to have those guys pair up. For me, so at wide receiver, Devontae Adams is great. Doug Baldwin, if he was healthy, would have definitely been in consideration here. Mike Evans still available. I think I'm going to stack running backs here, though. My first 2 rounds, I've got a quick pick. 6 picks from now, I get to pick again. I think I'm going to be happy with that wide receiver. I might even go 3 running backs if for some reason I can get the 2 guys I want. The 2 guys I want would be Jerick McKinnon and Joe Mixon. I'm going to play the ADP game here. I know right now Jerick McKinnon has a higher ADP than Joe Mixon. So the only one of those 2 that has a chance to get back to me, I think, is Mixon. I'm going to draft Jerick McKinnon.
Oh, there's no way. There's no way he's coming back.
Joe Mixon goes 2 picks later.
So Jerick McKinnon, you took him at 209.
But so now that the game is over and you lost, you knew you were going to lose the ADP game.
Right.
I
don't have any regrets of not taking Joe Mixon because I both of those guys are in the same vein to me. They are both people with secure volume and with good opportunities to score, especially in half-point PPR. So I'm absolutely fine taking McKinnon there.
So you pair McKinnon with Ezekiel Elliott, a guaranteed on the touch workload in terms of handoffs. I love that combo. Let's talk about the ADP game for a second before Jason gets his 3rd pick in. And by the way, after McKinnon, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, LaShawn McCoy, 3 more running backs. So going double running back, at least initially, looks like a good decision. Maybe if you like Mixon more, that was the bad decision, but you played the game. Devontae Adams, Doug Baldwin, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry there at 303. Goodness gracious. Let me ask this question about the ADP game that we play. I think that there are a lot of situations where you're not playing in an experts league. You're not playing in a league with people that are sitting there looking at the average draft position charts every single day of the week. And yes, you get an idea based on how mock drafts are happening, but all of our leagues are different. Everybody's league is different. And how do you weigh the ADP game and certain players? Here's an example, Jason. Alex Collins. His average draft position is about the first pick of the 4th round. But Alex Collins, by name, right, running back for the Baltimore Ravens, not as prominent, right?
Right.
It's not like Jordy Nelson's name in the fantasy community. So I can see Alex Collins going in the 6th or 7th round of a lot of non-expert home league drafts.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the type of guy that will drop. So you have to weigh that in when you're making your decisions. Is this a big name or is this someone that a lot of people might not want?
Well, it's the name and we know the ADP. We know outside source ADP, but essentially the ADP for your league is the rankings that are right in front of everyone.
So explain that brief.
That's one of the tips we brought up before. You're playing to the room. So we're drafting with the Sleeper app. And it has their rankings.
It has their ADP in there.
Yes. So that's what other people are going to see. That's what we see. Even as someone who's in fantasy football 365 days a year, it can still be difficult where I have my own rankings, but then someone else is going, well, at the top of the board here is Mike Evans.
Yeah, here, let me give.
I'm like, Mike Evans is the number 1 pick.
Perfect example here, right? So Mike Evans is on the board. I'm picking a wide receiver here. And here's how the sleeper bot ADP,
how Evans has fallen.
The sleeper app ADP goes: Mike Evans, T.Y. Hilton, Tyreek Hill, Adam Thielen, Stefan Diggs. To me, in my personal rankings, the rankings that I have developed,
you probably have Thielen ahead of him.
Thielen is far and away the first, but there's always that temptation.
Yes.
Oh, no, Mike Evans is at the top of this list. I should pick him. Go with what you think is the right call, the research you've done before the draft, and don't just go by the networks that you're using, whether you're drafting on ESPN or Yahoo. But
realize that Mike Evans is being put in everybody's face by that platform.
Right.
And so
I am drafting.
That's powerful.
And Evans in your face.
And I am
dangerous.
drafting.
If you had drafted
Adam
Mike
Thielen.
Evans right there, I would have just been – all of our advice goes out the window. Adam Thielen was the pick.
Yes.
And so you have Ezekiel Elliott, Jerick McKinnon, Adam Thielen.
Oof.
And then Mike Evans did go next. So, Mike, you did not get the temptation of going like 3 pass catchers to start the draft, but maybe you still have that temptation.
No, I'm still going to go with it. I'm sticking with this strategy.
All right.
I'm going to ride it out.
So where are you headed, Mr. Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski? You have the best player at 2 positions right now.
That is,
Are you tempted to go the
Correct.
best kicker on the board?
now that you brought it up, so now I'm thinking
Ironically,
about it.
you can go best quarterback.
I could, but I'm not going to go best quarterback.
All right. I tried. I tried.
As much as I'm in on this experiment, I shan't be going early round quarterback.
That should be the late round quarterback like motto. I shan't go quarterback.
So I'm looking at Hilton, Larry Fitz. They're kind of the upper tier guys left for me. I was kind of hoping that Mike Evans was going to get to me. I will attempt to play the ADP game a little bit here with Larry Fitzgerald, although it's a very, very long wait, and I don't think that he is going to come back to me. However, the player who is the highest ranked for me, now going through all the lists, doing a double check, it's actually Amari Cooper. So I'm going to stick with my board. I have Amari Cooper as a 1, and now I have 2 wide receiver 1s and the best tight end in football.
All right. This is true. T.Y. Hilton went after Amari Cooper. You took him at 306. Zach Ertz, another tight end off the board. Jay Ajayi went at 309. A little bit ahead of where we've seen lately.
Yes.
Darius Geis was a player that I was hoping would get back to me at 312. He did not. He went at 310. Tyreek Hill off the board. And now I feel like, I'm the kid in the back of the car who's been saying, are we there yet? Because I feel like it's been a while since I got a chance to make a pick, and that's what happens at the turn. Odell Beckham Jr., Jordan Howard are my first 2 picks, and look, I'm going to wait a while again. This is the game you play. So I'm looking at my board. I see, Aaron Rodgers still hasn't gone off the board. Not going to be my pick here. Running backs available. I've got some rookies sitting there. Rashad Penny, Sony Michel, Ronald Jones, Royce Freeman. I see Stephon Diggs, Larry Fitzgerald. I don't like being at the 12.
Yeah,
It's
I hate the 12.
I'm
rough.
not really excited about that right now.
One of the things that you have to do when you're at the turn is you have to throw ADP out completely. You can't, we talk about exploiting when a guy can come back to you, but if you want a player, you have to reach for them when you're at that turn, because every time that you get your 2-pack, there are so many players gone that you're in whole other tiers by the time it gets back to you. So grab the players you really truly like and believe in, regardless of if you're reaching a little bit for them when you're at the turn.
Also, if you're on the turn, make sure you are doing some hefty calisthenics between your picks. I mean, you got to keep that blood going. You don't want to just
Highly recommend the push-up.
The push-up.
The single push-up.
Do some burpees.
Just
do some squats.
get down, give me 1.
One is all you need.
Unfortunately, there is not a running back that I'm in love with at this pick. And in hindsight, seeing Alex Collins here, who I look at in the same vein of Jordan Howard with being a volume type of guy, in hindsight, I wish I had taken Jerick McKinnon at 2.
Oh, regrets.
I do. The
3rd round tilt.
The easier pick for me here, I'm staring down Larry Fitzgerald, Stephon Diggs, Josh Gordon. I'm going to take Larry Fitzgerald right here. I'm sorry, Mike. I promise it wasn't based on you hoping
He wasn't going to
came
make
back.
it back, more than likely.
And, man, Alex Collins, Kenyon Drake, Rashad Penny. This is tough, guys. This is really tough. I'm going to take Alex Collins. I'm going to listen to my board. Alex Collins and Jordan Howard, they're going to get me through the night. I need Odell Beckham Jr. to give me those big weeks.
Alex Collins and Larry Fitzgerald paired with Jordan Howard and Odell Beckham, I think you're off to a great start. I love Alex Collins in the 4th, even though you have to take him as the first 4th-round pick.
I think I have a
still
healthy
like
meal. I don't have the the one thing on the plate that makes me just Odell Beckham Jr. certainly is, but I feel pretty good. I feel like I have a good, healthy plate full of food there.
All right.
Sure.
So after you picked, Stephon Diggs went, and the first quarterback goes off the board in the 4th round. Aaron Rodgers, Kenyon Drake, Demaryius Thomas, and Josh Gordon off the board, leading up to Mike. Mike, are you sad that Josh Gordon was drafted? So you would have taken him here?
I would have considered him here, but there's players I have ranked higher than Josh Gordon. I'm sad that Demaryius Thomas didn't make it to me. That would have been an easy pick for me.
Let me bring something up real quick.
Uh-oh.
Watch out, the hype train. Here it comes.
Put your shoes on. You don't want it to run over your toes.
Are you buying on any of the hype with Jarvis Landry, Tyrod Taylor talk about, Gordon's not reported to camp. Jarvis Landry is the go-to receiver.
So you're telling me
I think you just described why.
You're telling me that the best wide receiver in camp has turned into the go-to guy.
This is why I bring it up.
Right.
Because I've seen it on Twitter already. Yeah,
Fair.
I would not doubt that Jarvis Landry's ADP rises due to the small amount of news that basically the news is this: Jarvis Landry is Jarvis Landry.
Right.
But so I guess that's a no from you.
No, that is a no from me.
Is he? Where are you headed right now?
So I'm gonna take another wide receiver. I am going to follow my board, and initially the name I thought I was going to go with was Marvin Jones here in the 4th round, but checked out the board where the projections are they're all thought out. I don't have the emotion of, ooh, this guy's dropped to me. And we just talked about this in the office, how the offseason has been very quiet for this guy.
Is it Allen Robinson?
It's Allen Robinson.
I just put a mark on my draft board next to him. We talked about it last night. Like, you've heard nothing about Allen Robinson.
He's recovering from his ACL, which was week 1, so he should be good to go. He got a boatload of money, a couple yachts to go play for the Chicago Bears, and no one is talking about Allen Robinson, and the ceiling is so incredible. I will say pairing Cooper with Allen Robinson is a little risky. I have Antonio Brown, though, locking my wide receiver position down, so that at least smooths those edges a little bit for me. And Marvin Jones is the same type of player. Lower catch total, but big plays, getting me touchdown. Touchdown. One touchdown from Marvin Jones.
Get me some touchdown, please.
Thank you, sir, for your touchdown. I'm gonna go with Allen Robinson.
All right, Rashad Penny, taking any temptation away from Jason there.
Yeah, so here
he's dropped, by the way. His average draft position has dropped significantly since the Chris Carson hype has come about. Now, I talked about him a little bit yesterday, and my opinion of Rashad Penny is I still think he's going to be pretty darn good, but I think it might be a little while. I think you might be happier with Penny from weeks 7, 8 on.
Maybe. Going through. If you are, you have to love this. If you like Rashad Penny, you are loving what is happening with the ADP drop. And I was on another podcast, and I gave this opinion of why do I like Rashad Penny, and this is taking the talent out of it. Why I like Rashad Penny is because I'm going to give credit to the NFL franchise, to the people that are running the Seattle Seahawks. If you spent a first-round pick on a team that has holes all over the defense, that has holes at the offensive line, you have holes in a lot of places, and you spent a first-round pick on Rashad Penny, and it turns out that the guy who was the 5th or 6th to the last pick in the NFL draft in 2017, Chris Carson, turns out to be your running back, you suck. You are really, really bad at your job. So that's why I still, even with all the Chris Carson hype, I know Pete Carroll loves to hype up his guys, but even with that hype through it all, that's why I still stick with Rashad Penny will be the guy.
I fully agree with most of what you're saying. I would not doubt if Chris Carson comes out week 1 and is still the lead guy for a minute. If you are in Dynasty and you have Chris Carson, I could not agree more. Sell. When are you going to get value from Chris Carson in the future?
I don't know if I agree with your take, Mike.
Why is that?
Because if you have taken an undrafted or late round player and you've scouted him properly and you've made him a relevant piece of your team, you don't suck. You've done your job. Arian Foster was undrafted. Ben Tate was a second-round pick. And Arian Foster getting the starting job didn't mean that he sucked.
But how did Arian Foster get his job?
Well, Ben Tate got hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look, Rashad Penny is far and away more talented than Chris Carson. No doubt about it. Chris Carson is 1/3 of the problem. The offensive line and the game scripts are the other third.
Would you agree that if you have Chris Carson right now in
Yeah,
Dynasty, you
sell
would
him.
Get value out of him?
Sell him,
It's a very short window.
Especially if he's declared the starter.
Oh, my goodness.
That's the moment that you send the 8 trade offers out.
So I'm on the clock here, and when I look at the wide receivers and the running backs available, there's pretty much a large tier where I'm happy with, if I took Juju or Golden Tate or Marvin Jones, those players, one versus the other means nothing to me, right? And when I look at the running backs on the board, it's pretty much I've gotten to the list of my rookie running backs that I like the best. The guy I've got ranked the highest, and I know this is a hot take, is actually Kerryon Johnson. But this is way too early. We're talking, depending on which format you're in, you're a couple rounds too early here. So I'm going to do something I have not done once this entire offseason, not in any of my best ball, not in any mock draft even, inspired by Mike. I'm going to play here and see what happens if I actually take the value that has dropped here in Travis Kelce. I've not drafted a 4th-round tight end.
I think that's the pick.
Anywhere, but he
Honestly, I do.
Different than he's the teardrop. He's the last one of those top 3, and there is a big difference between whether I pick him or Kyle Rudolph later.
So what's interesting, Jason, to ask this question, you took Kelce, but you knew you had a pretty quick turn. You're only waiting 6 picks to your next pick.
Right.
So the risk of losing that tier of tight end was greater than the risk of losing all of the wide receivers in your tier. Now, Brandon Cooks, Juju, Jeffrey, they all went after Kelce. Lamar Miller, Sonny Michel, Deshaun Watson as well. Are you happy with your decision?
I am very happy with my decision. I mean, so far, the real thing to me, here's what it's going to come down to, and I'll say this because you guys will have picks. I'm not going to draft Kerryon Johnson here. I'm going to see if he gets back to me at the 6'9". If he gets back to me at the 6'9", I will be so thrilled with Travis Kelce.
Sure.
But so that means if I'm playing that game again, I'm going wide receiver. It's between 3 guys, Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, and Chris Hogan, who has been rising up my boards a lot. Hogan is, I think, a bigger play guy, a higher opportunity to just be a home run. But given the fact that I only have Adam Thielen right now, I want to go a little safer. The safe pick to me is Golden Tate.
No!
So I'm taking Golden Tate to pair with Adam Thielen, Travis Kelce,
Boo this man!
Ezekiel Elliott, and Jerick McKinnon.
So Mike is 2 picks after Jason, and in case you're curious, I believe he wanted Golden Tate.
90 receptions for 1,000 yards, man. That was to go with the risky guys, with the high variance guys with Cooper and Allen Robinson.
So Mike, push comes to shove on the zero RB strategy right now. You have Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson. From a starting lineup perspective, you have filled all the available spots that you can actually start a pass catcher. This pick, if you go with a wide receiver, is now a rotational bench spot. There's no arguing that.
Right.
Which still falls into that zero
Of
RB
course,
theory.
yes, but I'm bringing that up because it's theory versus practicality. Like right now, you can draft Ronald Jones, Royce Freeman, Deion Lewis, Marshawn Lynch, Kerryon Johnson, viable starter options. Where are you going? What's the decision here?
So it came down to I really wanted Golden Tate, and then
His compadre's still there.
wait,
Marvin Jones.
really?
Yes, he is dropped.
Apparently, I missed. Man, I don't know if I can go Cooper, Robinson, Marvin Jones.
You better get your start sits right.
Yeah, you better get them. That's a fantastic point. But Marvin Jones, for all the people out there, Marvin Jones is the highest ranked wide receiver.
He also finished number 11 last year.
Yeah. Oh, I think he
9.
I think he can be absolutely a stud. But I'm going to take a little peek ski over at the running back position and just see what's happening. Royce Freeman, Deion Lewis. I have Marshawn Lynch ranked as a running back too. So those are guys that I am considering. This is a very difficult pick for me of do I go in on that first running back, which, man. And then I thought Lamar Miller was there, but apparently he's been drafted.
So Lamar Miller was just drafted between my picks.
If I was in a live draft, this would be the first call out for the double pick. Because
I thought you were going to say this would be the first time you use a lifeline. And
I thought
and you do the
first time I get booed by the
phone a
league
friend.
Going, make a pick.
Yeah.
It would have been me going, oh, give me Lamar Miller. Was already taken, idiot, bro.
So who's the pick, Mike? We do have several rounds to go.
Don't rush me. Don't rush me. I'm going to take Marvin Jones.
Okay, you're sticking with it.
I was wondering if you were going to go that route, and my opinion was that was 100% the right. If you're going 0 RB, Marvin Jones is just such a value here this late to have a quality wide receiver.
All right, after Marvin Jones, Jimmy Graham, Deion Lewis, Russell Wilson. Chris Hogan, and Ronald Jones. I made a decision before you two picked in that 5th round of who I wanted to fall to me. If I have the 5-12 and the 6-01. I'm not picking again until the end of the 7th round and the beginning of the 8th round. I am going to take a quarterback. I'm going to take the quarterback that led the league last year in total yards, and I'm going to take Tom Brady. Tom Brady is going off the board here because I have a very, very long wait, and I view him as a value in the beginning of the 6th round or right around where he should. Where I'm tempted by that, right? I'm not spending a 4th-round pick on Aaron Rodgers. I'm spending a pick for the MVP.
Now, you realize, had you made your other selection first, you could have said you got Tom Brady in the 6th,
I know,
which sounds a lot
which
better.
I will get heat for that. That's really stupid of me. At this point, though, I'm staring down some options. Jarvis Landry's there. Corey Davis is there. I love Corey Davis.
You are
Sammy
a Corey
Watkins
Davis
is
believer.
there. Tier-wise, I want to wait and see if I can get Robbie Anderson in the next run-through. Alex Collins, Jordan Howard, a little bit of risk with Alex Collins and how things shake out there. And because, look, I'm at the turn, I did it to I'm so tempted to just take carry on just to hurt Jason. But unfortunately, that's not how my board is drawn up. So I'm going to take Royce Freeman and the upside of Royce Freeman.
He's probably going to be my pick.
He's such a good pick here. Royce Freeman, I fully believe, will be the starter and a valuable rookie this season.
Michael Crabtree, Greg Olsen, Evan Ingram, Corey Davis, Tariq Cohen. Gentlemen, we got to move a little quicker on these picks, but Mike, you're back on the clock. You still don't have a running back.
That is true, and I'm going running back here. And I have the same thing of knowing how the room is working. I know who I'm playing against, and even if Jason had not said it verbally, I know that he's going to go Kerryon Johnson.
Now, how in the world? Oh, you know he is.
I'm saying that I knew he would go Kerryon because I know Jason. This is what we're talking about. You got to know your league mates.
But are you going to take
Marshawn
Kerryon?
Lynch
No.
is an RB2.
Okay, I was like, you can't take Kerryon when you have no running backs.
Well, I would take Kerryon if I felt there was an actual chance Marshawn would actually make it back to me. But there is not a chance of that because he is the top player in our draft room. He's the top running back according to the Sleeper app. And that's who is the top guy for me, so he's not making it back.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mike, I will let you know that during your pick selection, you took Marshawn Lynch, your first running back. In my opinion, when you go 0 RB to this point, to the 6th round, you got to have a guy that has guaranteed week 1 carries. And I know that we all believe in Kerryon Johnson, but he is not guaranteed week 1 carries.
Of course.
And he wrote me a note.
I did happen to write down if you want to read that, Mike.
Jason wrote a note and showed Andy, said, if Mike drafts Kerryon Johnson, he's dead to me.
You're darn right. But
am I fair to push this button, Jason?
Oh, you push that button. Oh, I am so happy to have him close to the 7th round, the 609, to pair with Ezekiel Elliott, Jerick McKinnon.
Oh, man.
It makes my Travis Kelce pick feel mighty nice.
Carlos Hyde, Marlon Mack, Julian Edelman, Will Fuller, Sammy Watkins, somebody that I hope somehow snuck to 712, but of course it won't. Carson Wentz off the board at 703, and Jason back on the clock. Who's your pick?
You know, my pick here, I could go running back or wide receiver. I'm pretty even on both, so it's going to be whichever guy I like the most. when I look at the board, there's two players that stand out to me. There's Rex Burkhead, huge high upside at the running back position. I know you're eyeballing him, Mike. And there's Emmanuel Sanders, another really
Emmanuel
solid.
Sanders, so freaking good, Jason.
And so this is going to come down to my roster. I've got Zeke, Jerick McKinnon, and
Kerryon Johnson.
I like that.
Thielen.
I've only got Thielen and Golden Tate. For those reasons, even though I like the upside of Rex Burkhead, I think Emmanuel Sanders plugs in as a really nice, safe option for me. You're welcome, Mike.
Well,
Tevin
if
Coleman,
he makes it to me.
He did. Emmanuel Sanders off the board. Tevin Coleman went next. I was waiting for Mike to hold up the if Jason drafts Rex Burkhead. He is dead to me sign. Mike, are you going with Sexy Rexy?
Oh, Sexy Rexy going to Flexy.
Now
on my starting roster. I love it.
Now, it's an interesting pick in light of some other, Isaiah Crowell, a full-time starter, available. But I think it makes sense. It makes sense for how you value Rex Burkhead and his role. Drew Brees, Cam Newton next, making me happy.
Me happy as well.
As it will push further down the line here, some wide receivers. Devin Funchess, Marquise Goodwin, Delaney Walker. I'm on the clock now with my back-to-back picks. I'm looking at players like Randall Cobb. I'm looking at players like Robbie Anderson, who I love and is definitely going to be my pick.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would be shocked if you didn't take Robbie.
Yeah,
right
Robbie is the pick for me. I love Robbie Anderson this season. And now I'm looking at, hey, how do I weigh this out? At tight ends, I'm probably waiting to the very end, although I'm in the 8th round here. I won't get Trey Burton. But
if you pass,
I pass, I won't. But I don't need Trey Burton. There are other options there.
You should draft Kyle Rudolph because he's.
It's a good option. I'm looking at doubling up on wide receivers at this point. So Randall Cobb's in consideration, healthy, back in camp. Aaron Rodgers, Jamison Crowder, a player that I think will excel with Alex Smith, but I think it's a little bit too early for me to want. I don't view it as a value getting Jamison Crowder in the 8th round. At the running back position, Isaiah Crowell is sitting there. I think he's going to be heavily involved. So it's between Isaiah Crowell and Randall Cobb for me right now. I don't think I can get another bona fide starting running back, so I'm going to change and go with Isaiah Crowell.
Dang it.
So Kirk Cousins off the board next, the Jacksonville D. Nice and early.
I'm not a huge fan of Isaiah Crowell, but to have a locked and loaded starting running back in the 8th round,
I'm going to find value at wide receiver later. I'm not going to find Isaiah Crowell later.
The two running backs who I hoped one of them dropped, it was Isaiah Crowell and C.J. Anderson. Clearly you took the Jets running back Crowell at the turn, and C.J. Anderson, who is – I don't care about the toy train running through of people hyping up Christian McCaffrey going to get 30 touches a week. C.J. Anderson's going to be involved. And he's going to be involved around the goal line as well.
Carolina paid to bring him in, fill that Jonathan Stewart role.
So So
where are you going, Mike?
I am incredibly bummed that C.J. Anderson did not make it back.
You're tilting.
No, I'm not. I'm not tilting. Mini tilt. Mini tilt happens.
It's just a Jenga lean.
Disappointment.
But you have not fallen over.
But it was a sturdy lean.
It was a good lean. It was a little wobble.
It's a rigid lean. And at this point, we are in the 8th round. I have my two guys who will be starting for me, and they can cover for at least a handful of weeks.
I know who you're drafting, and I can't wait.
You can't wait?
I can't wait for this pick because you're going to let the right guy fall to me.
Oh, well, fair enough.
Are you taking Aaron Jones?
I'm taking Aaron Jones, who is
That's what I thought.
Running back, Green Bay Packers. He is suspended for 2 games. But
I love that pick, Mike.
I believe Aaron
Jones
Jones
be the pick of the draft.
Is the best running back on Green Bay. And I can survive until he becomes the starter.
Yeah, well, there's a 3-pack of Green Bay players. You took Aaron Jones right after him. Randall Cobb, a great value this late in the draft. I like Ty Montgomery the best of the 3 running backs. In fact, C.J. Anderson was in there before Jamal Williams. So there's a huge run of Green Bay players in the 8th round. But I took Ty Montgomery. I still think he is going to be the passing downs back and used around the goal line in the passing role. And so I'm a big fan of that in the 8th.
Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, Ty Montgomery went 805, 807, 809.
That's pretty
gnarly. We're going to see that a lot. I think Mike's pick of Aaron Jones is one of the best picks of the draft because you went pass catchers early, and a player like Rex Burkhead, who regardless of how well he performs, does have a limited role. Aaron Jones is a breakout candidate for a 0 RB team.
Yes, completely agree.
So I could use either position here, running back or
doing
wide
all right
receiver.
there?
Doing fantastic. My team breaks down Ezekiel Elliott, Jerick McKinnon, and Kerryon Johnson, Ty Montgomery. I feel good at running back. Adam Thielen, Golden Tate, Emmanuel Sanders. I feel solid at wide receiver, but I don't have like the highest ceiling at wide receiver. So a player here that I would consider drafting, I like him at the value, Allen Hurns, who I think is a starting guy. He doesn't fit this team. I've already got Emmanuel Sanders and guys that are going to be involved but might not be the highest ceiling. I'm going to swing for the fences here, and I'm going to zig where all the Miami Dolphins beat reporters are zagging. Everyone always does great in Miami. Give me the hype train, right? Because Miami, there's never been a player that doesn't do good. And then they all stink. So I'm taking the one guy they're giving he's not having a good camp. And I'm taking Devontae Parker because his upside is, if he ends up being the wide receiver one, he got off to a really hot start last year in preseason and the first couple weeks got injured, dealt with injuries. I think he's a higher upside play.
He dealt with his own stinkiness as well.
No disrespect, but I hate that pick.
None taken.
I said no disrespect.
It is the perfect contrast to the Aaron Jones pick, in my opinion. But I'm very out on Devontae Parker as being an impactful player. But the pedigree is there. I'll give you that. Chris Thompson goes next. Mike, you're on the clock. Time to make a pick. We got to cruise through these final rounds.
I'll try and speed it up here. I'm going running back again because I have to load up I got to load up my bench with these potentials, right? Because at this point, there's no starting. Well, there's a couple guys who may be starting, like LeGarrette Blount and Devontae Booker, but I don't perceive them to be starting for very long. So I'm looking at Duke Johnson, Corey Clement, and Latavius Murray. Those are the three guys that I am deciding between very different roles in their offenses. And I am going to go with the hopeful nature that he does earn the red zone work as he did this past season. It might be a little bit early, but because of the way that I've drafted my team, it's going to dictate that a little bit. So I'm going to grab Corey Clement, even if he's not necessarily the highest guy on my board.
Running back for the Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles.
Running back for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I believe that he can work more into the passing downs role. He was sensational once he inherited that role. And they like him. They trust him. They trust him near the goal line.
All right, Andrew Luck went next. Robert Woods, Nick Chubb, Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan. Some of the quarterbacks going off the board. I waited. I took Isaiah Crowell. I did not take Jamison Crowder. He fell again to me. But I am staring down an interesting decision, one I haven't tried to make this entire offseason. That is Jamison Crowder versus, actually, you're not going to believe it, but Kelvin Benjamin. Kelvin Benjamin joined the Buffalo Bills roster mid-season, dealt with injuries, wasn't integrated into the offense, but they paid for him. There is no one else. So I look at that decision, and I'm starting to rise slightly on Kelvin Benjamin. Because if you are the number one guy and you have that kind of size and red zone capability, even if we don't like the offense, I have to concede the fact that he may be targeted early and often with touchdown potential. Jamison Crowder is going to need massive volume with an average yards per target of about 7 yards. I'm going to take Kelvin Benjamin.
I feel like Kelvin Benjamin is a handyman who actually comes in and breaks your stuff.
That's his.
That's
like
a bad
his
handyman.
That's his role on your team.
That's what I'm comparing him to. He
Called
is
a demolition man.
No, because he gives you his business card and it says Kelvin Benjamin, I fix it, and then he comes in and he's actually Wreck-It Ralph and just your garbage disposal. And your windows are just shattered.
Well, if I need to escort him out, Mike, I will. I took Jamison Crowder right after him. So I went Benjamin and Crowder, double wide receivers. Both I view as values at the end of the 9th and early 10th. We're back on the clock with Mike's pick. We saw Cooper Kupp, George Kittle, Phillip Rivers. Neither of you guys have a quarterback yet. I know you're waiting.
Certainly.
Are you thinking here at 10:07 at all?
I'm going to take a little peek, and it's all similar tiered quarterbacks at this point. So, and I've got a running back. I passed on him last round to get Corey Clement, and that was Duke Johnson, so I'm going to grab him.
I think Duke Johnson here is a great value. The worry that Jarvis takes it away is real, but he was in PPR the RB12 last year.
Yeah,
so
I'm not expecting 12, but if I can get
to get him in the 10th round,
a pass-catching
is
running
good
back
value.
who can end up, in that mid-20s.
Now, for the record, Mike went wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. So 5 pass catchers, and then he's gone 5 consecutive running backs.
Yep, love it.
Yeah, I'm a little upset here. So I did not agree with Mike on the tiered nature of the quarterbacks. There was one guy.
Yeah, that's fair.
There was one guy that I really do have a step above. I talked about it on the divisional breakdown, but I'm high on Ben Roethlisberger this year. So I grabbed him in the 10th round, really hoping that DJ Moore made it back to me at wide receiver. And unfortunately,
rookie for the Carolina Panthers.
Rookie for the Carolina Panthers, who I believe could be the number 1 wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers this season.
I thought about it. That's a great pick. You're
but
taking DJ Moore?
Yeah, I would have.
Oh,
had
he's
he came
gone.
back to
He
me.
went before. Okay.
But he did not come back to me. So now I am staring between. I can go either route. I can go wide receiver, someone like Sterling Shepard to be safe, or a high upside, hopeful guy like a Josh Doxson who's. I mean, I've already got Devontae Parker. Those guys are basically the same guy to me. So I'm going to look at running back and take a guy that I think will have value.
Okay.
Week in, week out, he'll be the goal line back, and should an injury happen to Dalvin Cook, Latavius Murray, I think, will be very valuable.
Perfect.
All right, Mike.
I'm very happy.
There is a running back here that I do not want you to take, Mike.
At this point, because I have gone 0 running back, there is a rookie running back who could turn into a starting
You're gonna take my
running
guy.
back for the Indianapolis Colts. So I am going to grab Jordan Wilkins here. Honestly, I should have taken him last round instead of Duke Johnson, but
I'm so disappointed in you because I wanted him so badly.
Corrected my mistake, and now I have the upside. I am not projecting. I am not saying it's guaranteed Jordan Wilkins is
You're
the
rolling
starting.
the dice.
But
just like you are with Aaron Jones, Corey Clement.
Yes, exactly. This is what you have to do is when you leave, if you go 0 running back, when you leave the draft, your running backs won't necessarily be very inspiring. But I have elite talent.
All right,
at the
these
wide
are my
receiver
final
position.
2 positional picks. Kelvin Benjamin, Jamison Crowder were my last 2. I'm actually going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to take Michael Gallup and see how things emerge with the last pick of the 11th round. And I'm actually going to draft Devontae Booker. You asked me, why do you want Devontae Booker? The answer, I have Royce Freeman. I drafted him in the 6th round.
You're handcuffing him.
And I want to protect that backfield. I want to see how it shakes out and be smart with that's my final positional pick on this team.
Sure.
Devontae Booker gives me the safety of kind of knowing that I'm going to have somebody there.
I love that pick because it's not a handcuff, right? We don't know if Royce Freeman is actually going to be the starter. Whoever is the week 1 starter, you will have on the roster. We don't recommend drafting
and if it's overwhelming
handcuffs.
one way, I can release the other guy and go get another free agent pickup.
No, I like that a lot.
All right, Mike, your last positional pick?
My last positional pick is the quarterback, and I'm choosing between Mariota, Alex Smith, and Dak Prescott. Those are the guys who I think are the most interesting at this point.
As someone who's playing against you in this league, I'm so glad that those are the players you're deciding between.
That's fine. And here's the thing. This guy might not even be my quarterback week 1. I might find a fantastic matchup that I love, stream that position week 1. But, it's definitely a tough call. So I'm going to go with the call that will make Jason like my team.
Oh,
Marcus Mariota.
So I took Marcus Mariota.
He's my quarterback 11.
I'll tell you who my pick would have been.
Who?
Tyrod.
Tyrod?
I would have rolled Tyrod out week 1 and see what you got there.
It's not a bad pick.
All right,
Definitely not a
Jason,
bad
your
pick.
final positional pick. You've already got a quarterback in Big Ben.
Yeah, I think my running backs are set. My wide receivers could use a little nudge of help, and I'm going to take a guy who would never have fallen this low if it wasn't for him currently being out of camp. For my last positional pick to get a guy who was a top 20 wide receiver last year, Rashard Matthews could still be the wide receiver 1 for Marcus Mariota. To take him this late, I really like.
I'm surprised you didn't
value.
take Paul Richardson. You love him so much.
Actually, it was between Rashard Matthews or Geronimo Allison, kind of swing for the fences type of high upside the possible wide receiver 2 for the Green Bay Packers.
All right, guys, let's each run our roster back as we close out this mock draft, half-point PPR. I have at the wide receiver position Odell Beckham Jr., Larry Fitzgerald, Robbie Anderson, Kelvin Benjamin, Jamison Crowder, and a dart throw with Michael Gallup. My running backs, Jordan Howard, Alex Collins, Royce Freeman, Isaiah Crowell, and Devontae Booker. My quarterback is Tom Brady. I realize now
You don't have a tight
that
end.
I do not have a tight end.
That's a bold strategy, Cutton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
That's
That's
perfect.
okay, though. That's okay.
Because as we do in every mock draft, we will give you the reminder, if a league does not dictate you exit the draft having every starting position filled, a la your kicker defense, if they don't dictate it,
You don't have to take
you
it.
don't have to take them.
And
Just take a couple more guys you can watch from the preseason.
I still would rather have Devontae Booker with my final pick and let camp shake out, because I'm doing this on the basis of right now. And then,
George Kittle is on the waiver wire right now.
No,
so
he is
No, he
not.
was drafted.
Oh, did he get drafted?
but my point is if I can watch the training camp battle between Booker and Foreman, make a decision, and then I can using that last pick versus signing makes no difference to me. At least then I've ensured I have that backfield, and then I can go sign Cameron Braid or Vance McDonald or
Austin
Eric Ebron
Jenkins.
or Austin Seferian-Jenkins or Ben Watson back in New Orleans. So, no problem.
Yeah. All right, my team.
Go ahead, Jason.
My team is I've got running back core of Ezekiel Elliott, Jerick McKinnon, Kerryon Johnson.
What was
that? Was the start of Carry On My Wayward Son.
Nope.
Ty Montgomery and
that was
Latavius
unique.
Murray. And Latavius Murray. At wide receiver, I've got Adam Thielen, Golden Tate, Emmanuel Sanders, Devontae Parker, and Rashard Matthews. Travis Kelce logging it down at tight end with Big Ben Roethlisberger slinging the ball around.
Mike, close us out.
All right, so I went with the mostly zero running back strategy here. So Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, and Marvin Jones holding down my wide receiver position. Then I took the shots on at running back Marshawn Lynch, Rex Burkhead, Aaron Jones, Corey Clement, Duke Johnson, and rookie for the Indianapolis Colts, Jordan Wilkins. Then I have Marcus Mariota as my passing guy.
All right, that was pretty fun. Brooks, you're going to get these up on Twitter.
Oh, heck yeah, and I'm going to get Chris Boswell.
Oh,
Boswell.
So you're going to get it up
Yeah.
on Twitter, Brooks. People can vote, see which team they like, what they don't like. Yeah, I'm sure they'll let us know that as well. You get a little bonus, footballers, today.
Best Ball Bonanza, brought to you by Draft.
All right, a lot of you are out there playing best ball right now at draft.com/ballers. You want some hot tips, you want some discussion about best ball, and we give you a brief segment once a week, and that's what we're doing right now. So here's my question. We talk so much about guys that are what we call best ball players, like Deshaun Jackson, right? Like you might not want him week in and week out, but in best ball, you might get 2 weeks where this dude, he has 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we know what a great best ball player is. A great best ball type of start is. Martavis Bryant was one of these guys as well, maybe that this year. What's a bad best ball player? What's a bad best ball pick? Now, to me, that's a guy like years past that's saying, I'm not rolling Anquan Bolden out in best ball because I don't see the upside of
Fair.
a baseline guy in best ball at wide receiver where you have 7 guys on your team. How often is Anquan Bolden type of player a kind of consistent underneath receiver, possession guy? Do you agree with that assessment, or what do you look at as a bad best ball option?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with I don't necessarily agree exactly with Anquan Bolden specifically, but I agree with what you're saying.
Well,
as far
late
as,
career Anquan Bolden.
So here's kind of what I believe is a bad basketball pick. When you're in the later rounds, if you draft a guy who is a possession between the 20s guy who's later round and he's not a touchdown scorer, he's probably never going to crack your roster. You're going to want in those later rounds guys that have the opportunity to actually get in the end zone and fill that flex spot, fill that wide receiver or that tight end spot better than, if you're going with, say, 3 tight ends, if that's your strategy, go with the tight ends who maybe they're not used between the 20s that much, but around the goal line, the Tyler Kroft type of player, he can be used as opposed to the guy that's just going to get 40 yards, which is okay for a tight end, but is never used around the goal line like a Jared Cook.
You have anything to add to that, Mike, or are we good?
Well, we're good. I just wanted to say, like, these starting type running backs who, as I specifically want to highlight, not that we don't ever talk about Kerryon Johnson, but LeGarrette Blount, on the surface, it seems like LeGarrette Blount he's a fine best ball pick. He should be the starter for the Detroit Lions week 1. He's old. He's not on the type of teams that he's been on in the past, even though the Detroit Lions have an improved offensive line. But he is very likely to lose his job in my projections. So those are the types of guys that I tend to avoid. Like Chris Carson. We're saying he's the starter right now, but I think he's just a waste of a roster spot unless you're considering him a handcuff.
All right. Hopefully you enjoyed the mock draft. Next week we're back with more divisional breakdowns as well as our top 10 running backs on the show here each and every week. Subscribe, listen. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you then.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.